Here are the sections that we could compare and contrast, but we did want to kind of go through these in order. The northern, and we have, you can see plans here and the concepts that are kind of being initially proposed. And then the central, again, the plan and the concepts for the central and the southern. Okay, so that's basically the material. If we could go through that. And we have Michelle in the meeting from PlaceWorks, who's going to be taking notes. And then at the end, we will get back together again with everyone else and do a report back of what we learned in our room. Okay, so does anyone have, I guess I'll open it up. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the overall study area or any general questions? Feel free. Let's see. Yes, okay, so I saw, hi, I saw someone, can you unmute yourself and just ask a question? I see someone with their hand up.
Hi. My name's Carol.
Hi, Carol.
And the thing that I'm curious about, it seems like all of this is kind of contingent on what the ideas are going forward on how the space along the river is going to be used, because that would make a huge difference in how the road is planned and whether there's parking along there or how that's done. So is there some kind of a plan in the works, or can you tell us anything about that?
So I think John could probably tag on to this. I'll start. We do have the grant. There's unknowns about what's going to be happening along the river, and we do want to find ways to improve the corridor as much as we can for the existing conditions. So the team is trying our best to make a solution that would be flexible for new development that might come in the future to take advantage of the corridor as well. So the idea here is trying to keep it as flexible as possible. John, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's right, Bruce. We don't have any particular development in mind. We just know that in general that in the future there will be development there. So these concepts just kind of try to accommodate future development as it occurs, but we don't have any specific development in mind. So and the idea is to bring the bicycles and the pedestrians and serve the vehicles in a safe and attractive way so that it can help enhance the development that may be coming in the future.
Bruce or John, if I may, sorry, I'm not finding my icon to raise my hand, but my name's Cameron Middleton. I'm a representative for Chris Koutras, and I can address that at least slightly if need be.
Okay, Cameron, why don't you talk a little briefly about that? So, and maybe people should be aware that the Koutras family does own and control some of the property along the Park Marina Drive. Go ahead, Cameron.
Yeah, Bruce, just had spoken with Chris about this prior to the Koutras family owns not all, but the majority of the property on the east side of Park Marina, coming from 44 down to just prior to Locust. And so just give a little update from his standpoint. Two things. One is the area has been encumbered by leases and subleases for some time, generations, frankly, and those leases are expiring at the end of the year. And so what we are currently working on right now is that transition, which is actually fairly complex. Again, a lot of tenants and subtenants that are, being talked to, just to ensure a smooth transition at the moment. And so that has really been our focus here in these past few months and in the coming couple of months. We have been working on, and Chris has been working on, proposals, designs, and other uses for his property along Park Marina. And we have spoken with several potential tenants and other developers and investors regarding development of the property to the east. Unfortunately, so much of what we were looking at are active uses. whether that's restaurants, recreational uses, various uses of even, hotels, other things that are right now not exactly doing stellar with COVID. And so a lot of those have been put on hold while we're in the pandemic, just because a lot of them are trying to, currently save what they have, and expansion mode is being put on hold a little bit. So we certainly want to work with the city on this moving forward. That is our hope, and we want to, certainly there are elements of some of the proposals that we like. There are some as well that we do give us a little bit of pause. We want to make sure that a lot of the proposals and ideas and things that the landowner is going to put forth are compatible with this corridor project and what it does, and that we have a good relationship between the two. So he was a little concerned, I think, when first hearing about this, and thought we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves. But again, as you've indicated in our talks with the city, a lot of this is preliminary to get some ideas and some public input, which we certainly welcome and want to be a participant in.
Okay, thank you, Cameron. Let me say a couple things about that. Clearly, that's an effort that will be probably years in the making if there is to be significant changes in the corridor. And tonight's exercise is really to look at the street itself, and knowing that the team will need to undoubtedly coordinate with future land uses as the project continues, and the city then into the future, even after the project is in plan form, which is going to be middle or late middle next year. So it will be good in any case for us to get your input about the corridor in these segments, to get a general idea about what you prefer to see here in the Park Marina Drive corridor within the street right-of-way. And then in the future, it's probably going to need to be adjusted in some way to accommodate any change in the future. But it is a worthwhile exercise, I believe, to go ahead and do some visioning about what would be appropriate for the corridor. So maybe we could have, if there's anybody else who has a general question about the corridor, we'll take one more about that. And then I think I'd like to get into the northern gateway area, and we can kind of dive into what's happening there. So is there anyone else that has a comment? And it looks like I'm not seeing everyone, so maybe you could just speak up. It's fine. It seems like everyone will be respectful here. So go ahead and speak up if you have a comment or a question. Otherwise, I can go into the first segment, which is we're going to start in the north.
I guess,
okay.
So this is Ann Thomas. Maybe I'll just make a quick comment. And given the business uses that we expect and that Cameron was just describing, restaurants, tourism, hotels, what I really like about the different examples you've given us and what we see here is that you're continuing the trail-like experience all the way along this corridor that's so important to the tourism. And it's really essential that no matter which one we pick, we keep that trail-like experience for people of all ages or the businesses that Cameron and Koutras are looking to the future for.
Well said, and good to keep in mind. And I think that's a great segue. Why don't we talk about some specifics here. I'll start. So again, this is the north end. So here's the on and off ramps of the 44. And this is the Sundial Bridge Road, okay? There's a separate project happening over here to improve Butte for bicycle access that the city is doing. So this is going to become, or it has the potential to become an important piece of the network, you know, of bicycle connectivity. Looking at the concepts, we were, okay, so in this case, this gray line right here is a two-way multi-use path. So it would be able to be used by cyclists and pedestrians. There's a buffer between traffic and the path in this scheme. There would be some other intersection improvements, such as a crossing here, and especially the city's plan is to bring bicycle connectivity here on this side of Butte, I believe. Well, no, it looks like it's going to be on this side. Okay, and then it'll cross Butte or Park Marina and go across the bridge. So this is going to need to be a good crossing. This is a good crossing for pedestrians, but really the major effort here is going to be this multi-use path along the west side of the street, and then continuing along to a roundabout at Athens Avenue. And you guys are familiar, I think Reading has done now a couple of roundabouts. It's a great way to move traffic in a consistent flow, but not speeding. So you don't wait at signals, but you continue through the roundabout no matter which direction you're going. And it's also known to be, there's data that shows that it's really safer for not only bicycles and pedestrians to cross a roundabout, it's also safer for vehicles. So you find that there's less accidents at a roundabout intersection than a signalized intersection. But I'm open to any comments that I would like to hear what people think about either the multi-use path, the crossings, or the roundabout. Let's open it up. Who has any ideas?
I love the idea of the roundabouts. I think that's going to make the traffic flow around there really nice.
Okay, who is this? Sorry, who is this speaking?
This is Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. That I think that'll be really nice flowing around there. My question is, has there been any consideration given to pedestrian bridges up around the 44, some of those crossings?
You know, that's come up. I think there's a long-standing desire for some kind of crossing there. John, do you have any updates about a pedestrian bridge getting across from Park Marina across 44 over to the Turtle Bay area?
Yeah, we have talked about this, looked into it. It's a real challenge. We've had some concepts that we haven't been able to move forward, getting a pedestrian crossing over kind of near the ACID canal. It's very expensive, not particularly competitive when we put it in a grant application compared to some other connections. And there's some other potential ways to get pedestrians underneath the Highway 44 bridge over the Sacramento River, and some options there. For the scope of the Park Marina project, the goal is kind of just to get it to this connection point at the Sundial Bridge Drive, and then have other projects that are in the works or current applications that we were waiting to hear back on. But this is just the next piece of that puzzle to make that connection at Sundial Bridge.
I was actually not referring to over 44. I was just talking about these connections that you have, these crossings that are here now. So much smaller type.
Yeah, it certainly would be easier to achieve a pedestrian bridge, but I think studies show that oftentimes, unless you make it super easy to get up on a bridge to cross, most people would rather cross a grade than to go up and across a bridge. That's findings that people have found from other locations. But oftentimes, if a bridge could be made to, if there's for instance, some topography that allows you to walk straight across a bridge, that would certainly improve the benefit of it. Do other people have any ideas about a pedestrian bridge, support or non-support? Who else wants to talk about that?
Well, this is Anne. I kind of see, I agree with what you're saying about a pedestrian bridge seems more trouble than it's worth to people when they're walking sometimes. And it's costly to make it also serve people on bikes. The thing that I especially, not that it's, you know, but if we have the money, maybe that's an interesting idea. What I like about what you've done here is that you make the crossing with the roundabout. So we know we need to get people to the other side of the street so they don't cross in front of 44 and the on-ramps. And what's often not recognized if you're not here is that heading towards Turtle Bay, that's also a hill. So you don't want just not athletic cyclists don't want to climb that hill in the middle of traffic. So with the roundabout, you make it easy for people to cross to the other side of the street, whether they're walking or biking, and make that hill climb in a safe space.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. And I don't know that I fully pointed that out, but what she is talking about is the natural place for a trail, and we'll see this in the central and the southern segment, is really on the eastern side, the river side, right? And you'd rather bring that trail all the way up Park Marina Drive, but then you reach this point, and this is a very dangerous intersection for pedestrians and bicycles to cross. So if there is a roundabout, there's a way to bring the trail users up and across and continuing up on the other side of the street. So it would be you know, order of magnitude safer for this configuration. So thank you for pointing that out. Other thoughts? Anybody about this segment?
Bruce, this is Julie Winter, and so I would agree with Anne. I think what you've laid out here is actually excellent. I like the multi-use path, and this looks safe and reasonable for cost. So I would echo. I think this is a great plan going forward for this section. I do want to point out Kathy Kakiuchi is on the call, and her microphone's not working. She asked 2 questions, Bruce. One is, will the streets be maintained, this project be maintained by the city? And the second question was an environmental study done? So
good question.
I'll leave that to you.
John can pitch in, but this is all proposed to be in the right-of-way of Park Marina Drive. And it's city right-of-way, so the city would maintain, they currently maintain, and they would continue to maintain. John, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And sorry, the other question was environmental review. And right now we're just doing visioning. We're you know, that's the first step. Once we get to a vision and some plans, concept plans that people are in general agreement about, then that's the time to begin and really do your environmental review to ensure that that is going to work environmentally. Again, it being in the right-of-way in the city for the most part, not entirely, it is likely to be a categorical exemption in environmental review, which means that it would not be a full EIR likely. That's likely, but you know, it's a matter of determination when we get a little further. Let's see, any other questions about this segment or comments, or is there anybody who doesn't like something that we're doing here?
Hi, Bruce. My name is Janice Cunningham.
Hi, Janice.
Hi there. For years now, I've managed the Park Marina Plaza, which is a large shopping center on the west side of the highway there. And I'm wondering about the roundabout. I love the idea of slowing the traffic down with the roundabout. However, during non-COVID periods of business activity and during peak hours, the traffic level that backs up on I-5 at the on-ramp will go beyond the level of that current roundabout placement. And I'm wondering if that was taken into consideration when we're in normal traffic periods. I mean, COVID traffic has been greatly reduced, it seems like anyway, but I'm just wondering about if enough volume of cars will be pulled off of Park Marina to accommodate that completely, or whether that has been taken into consideration.
That's an excellent point. Thank you. We will need to do further analysis to ensure that the roundabout would work. And part of that is making sure that the traffic can't or won't back up into the roundabout, which could create some problems. So thank you for calling that out. Given you are manager of the shopping center, do you see any issues with a multi-use path along the street? Clearly you probably have 2 or 3 driveways, right, Julie?
It's Janice, and we have 3 points of ingress egress in that shopping center. We have right now a fairly substantial sidewalk that already goes along there, as well as an existing bike path on that side. And so it is used by some pedestrians and cyclists already. Unless the barrier that is in between the trail and the traffic is something that would block visibility of the commercial center, I really don't see it as any kind of problem.
Okay, great. Thanks, Janice. Okay, any other good comments?
Bruce, if I may.
Real inside comments. Yes? Darren.
Yeah, this is Cameron Middleton again. And just kind of as a general point, in terms of the overpass there at Sundial Bridge Drive, and my only concern, and having been a planning commissioner for years, I know there's always the concept of, hey, you don't always build a church for Easter Sunday concept. That said, just the going to one lane on the northbound, certainly knowing that we have several events a year at the Civic Rodeo Grounds, Turtle Bay, et cetera, that occur, that can be very high traffic counts. I just a little bit to what Janice echoed, I just do have some concern with regards to backup, both on Butte to the west, and then also on Park Marina to the east, and thereby, therefore 44, which we already do get. I just wonder about the constriction of that northbound lane for some of those larger, well-attended events that we have at the Civic, and what that may do also just in terms of backup.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that, Cameron. Okay, so, and clearly, I guess what I would say to that is that more now, so there will need to be analysis to make sure that things will work, not only on a day-to-day, but given there's fairly, or there used to be, and hopefully in the future there will be more fairly large events in Turtle Bay. So I think that's an excellent point too. Okay, so with that, I think I want to go to the middle.
Bruce, we have about 15 more minutes.
15, okay. This is an interesting concept in the middle. Kutrus Park is here. There's an idea about having the multi-use path and also having a cycle track on the street. So a bike lane in one direction and a cycle track on the other side, and parking would remain in front of the houses. It's just that the bicycles would run between the parked cars and the curb in this concept here. I mentioned the multi-use path on the riverside of the Park Marina. So yes, anybody want, okay. And so that is a concept that we're looking into. And the other concept is the idea of potentially diverting traffic onto South and Washington going south, or onto Washington and South going north, to allow for a more capacious Park Marina Drive here, more potential for transit and bicycles and pedestrians to use this segment. Let me just give me a moment here. Okay, so that is the concept that we're looking at. The one concept without this bypass, and then the concept with the diversion and the bypass. So thoughts, anybody?
I have a comment again.
Okay.
On the top segment where the roundabout is at Village Drive and Olympus Avenue, I manage the 50-unit apartment complex that is on the northern driveway, and there are 8 residential units on that southern driveway of Village Drive that will soon be part of that ground lease that's expiring. If by chance traffic makes a wrong turn off of that roundabout, if they get confused or for some reason they make a round turn and they go into Village Drive, if they're an RV, if they're a truck, if they're pulling any kind of tow vehicle, it's going to be ugly and possibly very dangerous because there's nowhere for those large vehicles to turn around in there. There's carports that have been crashed into many times before. In both of those sections. So I don't know if maybe that can be solved with signage if this turns out to be one of the preferred plans. But that's something definitely to think about, is that, you know, it's a residential area, it's tight. If somebody makes a wrong turn in a big vehicle, it's going to be a bad situation real quick on both of those driveways.
Yeah, you're a wealth of good comments. Michelle, are you able to capture that comment? Do you understand what she's saying, that an RV coming along here that by mistake gets on this street is really going to have a problem getting back out? I think that's very useful knowledge for us to have.
Yeah, thank you, Janice. And for those of you that are also providing comments in the chat, I am noting those as we are also recording this breakout session.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, we're being recorded. And Michelle, if there's any questions, I'm not following the chat just because I'm trying to run this. But if there are any questions that you think are germane, you feel free to ask. I know we don't have a lot more time, but let's get some ideas about either the roundabout, the arrangement in this concept, or the other concept, which is mostly on street and non-diverted. So do we have
Bruce?
Cameron? Yeah.
Yeah. 2 quick things. First, with regards to the diversion onto Washington Avenue, I know it's something that Mr. Koutras has spoken about with the city previously, and something he would like to look into the possibility of is not only a partial diversion onto Washington, but a complete diversion onto Washington. And I think that's something we would at least want to study and take a look at, and thereby vacating that entire stretch of Park Marina from south to Washington and bringing all of the traffic through there, thereby really opening up a larger contiguous piece that we would be able to take advantage of. And second thing, with regards to roundabouts, and generally speaking, I'm an advocate of them and do like roundabouts. What I've noticed is, of course, that the one downside I've seen of roundabouts is that, especially when you have 2 of them, what they do is very efficiently keep traffic moving. The downside is they very efficiently keep traffic moving, rather than stoplights, which actually stop and create gaps. If we put Park Marina on a road diet and restrict it to single lane in each direction, what we're concerned of is that with roundabouts there along, and there are various concepts along that property, the Riverside property of Park Marina there, is that it creates a continuous flow of traffic, especially reduced from 2 lanes to 1. And without any breaks from a stoplight to kind of break up that traffic, it can create some very long waits to get out onto Park Marina. And so that's our only real concern there. Again, in general, I personally like them, and they can be very advantageous. It's really in between those that I just worry about. Are there going to be enough gaps for people at peak times to even be able to get back out onto Park Marina if they're using the uses that are there along the river?
Understood, Cameron. Thank you for that. Actually, I thought you were going to have a slightly different comment, that as a commercial business owner, it's not a bad thing to have people stopped at a stoplight looking at your business and wondering, I'd like a cup of coffee, you know? So, but this is a good point, that if you're waiting in a driveway to pull out onto Park Marina and there's a continuous line of cars that doesn't have any space, then you could wait there a long time.
And last item real quick, Bruce, just in terms of the crosswalks, certainly see that as an opportunity. I think we have thousands of units of residential within a half mile to the west of Park Marina. And I think it's certainly advantageous for those residents to be able to get across Park Marina, for us to make that easier for them to do that, certainly increasing the number of crosswalks and that big gap that we do have, and to, you know, certainly from a demand standpoint, to get those residents across the street and over into some of those uses. You know, that's certainly a good idea and something to move forward with.
Okay, thanks, Cameron.
Thank you.
Let's hear from someone else. Who has a comment or a question about this segment that hasn't spoken yet? Is there anybody?
Yeah, Bruce, this is Bob Getz.
Hi, Bob.
You know, I've listened to this, and basically you're cutting from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. The earlier comment about COVID-19 is right on, that the traffic is lighter today than it has been in the past. I've seen backups off of 44 trying to get onto Park Marina. And if you cut that down to 1 lane, that's going to be an issue. Roundabouts, I just don't feel it fits there. I know everybody's in love with them, but I just don't see it. And I think the main thing, my comment, is if there is truly going to be development in, let's say, the next 5 years, or even the next 10 years, that would create, if there's hotels and restaurants and other things that the Koutros family would develop, that's going to create additional traffic. So you may have to revisit this and redo the whole thing at that point. I would really believe that it would be wise to wait a year, unless, I mean, the bike lanes are there today. I see them every day, bicyclists going by. The point, you brought this up a couple of times, a multi-use pedestrian bike path, that really doesn't work in my mind, because I walk the river trail all the time. So you have a differential of speed, bicycles going 20, 25 miles per hour, pedestrians going 2, 3, 4 miles an hour. I think it would be prudent to wait to see what the development plans are before you redesign and especially put in roundabouts.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Anybody out there in the room that wants to say anything about what Bob just said?
This is Ayla Tucker. Oh,
go ahead.
Okay, this is Ayla Tucker. My comments partially build on to Robert's comments and also on to Cameron's comments in regard to the roundabout. I personally like roundabouts. I think when done in the right environment and in the right way, they are great. I would just encourage extra thought being made if a roundabout were, or several roundabouts were to be included in the end plan, that really not only ADA is taken into consideration, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but enhanced ADA features, so that members of the public who have to cross potentially multiple crosswalks within a roundabout can do so in a safe manner. For those that are visually impaired and others who may be, you know, maybe more immobile and are going to cross the crosswalk at a slower pace, I would just really encourage enhanced thought into how features could be included that are not just, you know, typical, oh, that's ADA compliant, but really go above and beyond to ensure the safety of our community members that fit into that category so that they can fully enjoy this Park Marina Drive area.
Okay, thanks. That was Ayla. Okay, let's see. And somebody else wanted to talk at the same time. So who, go ahead.
That was me. I'm
Okay,
Sandy Dole. And I just wanted to reiterate, I'm super excited to hear, thank you, Cameron, that the Koutras family is looking at developing that Park Marina area. I think that's really the heart of all of this. I like the idea of that diverting the traffic onto Washington, but I do echo Bob's concerns about making that road only 2 lanes and creating more and more traffic, especially if we want to develop that, which is so needed in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So that was sort of my point.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything to say about the number of lanes?
This is David Schlegel. I just joined tonight. I think there's too many lanes on Park Marina right now. It's way too car centric. If we're going to make it a place for people to gather, and if they're going to develop the waterfront, we need to slow down the cars. We can still have parking, but we need to create shorter crosswalks for people to go back and forth, and more space for bikes and people. That's how you create vibrant places.
Okay, thanks, David. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to echo that. This is Joshua Johnson. I like the roundabouts for a lot of reasons. But one of the things that it's going to do is I wonder what the data shows, roundabouts versus streetlights. I haven't seen that, and whether or not it actually allows for less lanes because the flow is better. And I'm wondering, do you have any of that data to share that might help inform us?
Yeah, and maybe we could bring that back if after this meeting and consultation with the staff, we're going to continue with an alternative that has roundabouts. Maybe we'll bring back some data that shows that. But oftentimes roundabouts are used in concert with a road diet project. It's pretty common. And they have been shown to work pretty well together. But let's see, I think I only have a minute or so left, and we haven't done the other segment, which I'm not sure there's that much to talk about. If anybody this is a general statement, if anybody has any comments they want to submit and you haven't had a chance to say them, you can go on the web page and we'll give you the address at the end of the meeting, and you can submit your comments there, email them to the city, and we welcome all the input that we can get from you all. And I'll just open it up to see if anybody else has a comment that maybe they haven't had a chance to speak yet. I'm open. We'll probably be pulled back into the big group in a couple minutes, but if anybody hasn't spoken and feels like they want to, please do.
Bruce, we just got a comment from Josh that I thought, Markle, that I thought was interesting. He brings up the point about suggesting to bring art into the roundabouts.
Art in the roundabouts. Okay, that's a good comment.
If we do have a quick second, I can kind of chime in on the question regarding traffic signals and roundabouts.
Okay, go ahead. Who is this?
Rudy with TJ Camp, sorry.
Hi, Rudy. I didn't recognize. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just sneaking around through the break room, sorry. Mm-hmm. So one of the things with the roundabout is it reduces the points of conflict within an intersection because it kind of dictates the movement. Everyone flows in a consistent manner. So the entry into a roundabout is much more deliberate, and you're mainly looking out for traffic coming from your left side as compared to negotiating a typical traffic signal where you're kind of watching for the lights, and you do have a lot more conflict points depending on the type of signal you have. If you have a permissive left turn compared to a protected left turn, and then your right turning vehicles have to be mindful of oncoming traffic if they're making a right turn on red. So those are just kind of like a high level discussion on the main differences between them. We can definitely provide a more in-depth analysis on that further down the line.
Hey, Rudy, I just wanted to mention a good comment that someone made about the first roundabout in the north, and it's worth looking into. So there is a point that at especially event time, there's traffic that may back up onto Sundial Bridge Road and back up down Park Marina. And I think it was Janice who was saying that she's seen cars all the way down here. And so it'll be good for the team to look into that issue to make sure that cars don't back up even past the roundabout, because that would impact the flow there.
No, that's a good point. So you're saying the queue from Sundial Bridge or from the ramps backs up southerly into the Athens Avenue intersection?
Janice?
For about a short time during non-COVID traffic patterns, for a short time, maybe from say 5:05 to 5:20 p.m.
Got it. Okay. So that might be something that's happening with the ramps and the circulation happening up north. If we can improve that, that would help with the overall.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and you don't want to do something that's not going to work at all times. So that said, let's see, we have 30 seconds, it looks like, before we leave the breakout room. Anybody else about a topic that maybe we haven't talked about? Is there anything else that anybody wants to say about any of these concepts? Okay. So what we'll do. Hi there. I got cut off.
I guess we're just forced to be back.
Yeah, we were forced to be back.
Sorry, I hope you saw my broadcast message.
I did.
We did.
It's hard to gauge, and I was in mid-sentence, so we got broken up, but that's good. First of all, I think we had a great discussion in Group 1. Hopefully, let's see, are most people still in the meeting? It looks like there's 80 folks still here. So this is, what a great meeting. I want to share is it appropriate now, Cliff, for me to share my screen and go to the Google Doc? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Let's see if I can make this work. Hold on. Okay, then I can go here, and then I'll go like that, and we'll start with Group 1 discussion. Michelle took these notes. We had lots of folks in the room. Should I go ahead and summarize? I've forgotten. Ruta, let's see. I guess I could just go ahead and summarize this. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. So we were fortunate to have Cameron, who is associated with the Koutras family, who was talking about future development plans for the area along the river that the family owns, and said that they are developing plans now for that area, and it's exciting to think about some transformation there. There was some thinking or some, I guess, encouragement that the planning that we do for the street should be flexible to accommodate new land uses in the future. It's not determined what those land uses will be or what the development actually will be like. And it won't be known probably for some little while because of the situation we're in with the COVID and so forth. So, but Cameron was there and talked about future development, and other people supported the idea of new development along Park Marina. So I think that that was generally positive. And but the takeaway is that it should be a creative and flexible solution. There was a question. Oh, good, Michelle. She put the question about the maintenance of the corridor into this general segment here up front, and the corridor will be maintained by the city. For the most part, the concepts are within the right-of-way, the existing city right-of-way of Park Marina Drive. So the city would be maintaining that. And then regarding environmental review, there would need to be some aspect of environmental review done before the project gets approved, but we're not at that point yet. Regarding segments, there was a question in segment 1, which is the northern segment, about pedestrian bridges, and we heard both, pros and cons for the idea of pedestrian bridges, both across 44 and potentially across Park Marina. Cost is an issue clearly on that aspect. Roundabouts, there was a lot of questions and comments about roundabouts, and there was a lot of support for roundabouts, but there were some cautions. One of the cautions is that there's a lot of backup at the current overcrossing or on-ramps onto 44 at the north end. And want to make sure that the congestion or the backup of the cars doesn't extend all the way down into the roundabout there. We were fortunate to have Janice from the shopping center talking about some of her experience there and giving her feedback on the project. So that was good. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so there's a comment about if there was a safe walking path and bike path that many people would choose to go to events walking and biking rather than taking cars. So that might alleviate some of the congestion in the northern area. Okay, for segment 2, which includes Koutras Park and the potential diversion there, there are pros and cons of that, and we did hear though primarily support for the idea of looking into that idea of a diversion. And kind of coming back to Cameron's point, he made a point that the Koutras family would like to see the diversion explored for several reasons, including that it may help with their development plans. So that was thought of as a positive thing, the diversion. There was a comment, a specific comment about the roundabout that is shown in the central segment to make sure that larger vehicles don't go up Village Drive by mistake. That is a residential access drive. And if a big RV or some semi happened to make that turn at the roundabout by mistake, it would probably be unsolvable. So there is some concern about that. Let's see.
Bruce's time check is 5:55.
Okay. I'll just mention that there were some concerns about the road diet from several people, a couple at least in our group. Going from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. Yeah, the corridor is doing well right now and is fine, and there's probably too much space there. But after COVID and potentially with new development, that needs to be looked at carefully. So there's a hope, at least among a couple people, that that this project would be able to analyze, the future post-COVID scene to make sure that a road diet, the removal of traffic lanes would actually work. And with that, there's a bunch of stuff from the chat room that I won't mention, but I'll hand it off to Group 2, and I will show the group discussion here on my screen. But let's see, who's going to do Group 2? Ruta?
I can kind of wrap it up a little bit. So Cliff, just to help you out, there is a lot of things that I could echo to what Bruce just mentioned. First of all, related to accommodating future land use. So having alternatives that are more flexible and can be kind of accommodated in future with respect to land use changes, being creative and flexible. Yes, we did talk about pedestrian bridges. That could be one of the alternatives for pedestrian as well as bicyclists. There was an overall support for roundabout, but again, echoing the same concern that Bruce brought up is what happens to the traffic at Athens when you drop a lane, or just to be a little bit more careful with traffic perspective, that's all taken into consideration before we make that change. Overall, people were kind of looking forward to repurposing the cross section because they do realize that it's a pretty wide cross section, and that could be repurposed so that other modes of transportation could use this facility and kind of make it more walkable and bikeable for other modes. Also, there was discussion of converting some of the residential use to commercial if possible, as a land use change. The
what
overall,
segment, Ruta, what segment was that comment?
Central.
Central segment, okay.
Yeah, and there was a discussion on the 2 buildings that we have that could also be kind of rethought about and relooked into. Don't want to get into too much of detail regarding that, but it's all documented in our notes. Also, they did kind of gave city kind of like they do appreciate that city is looking into connecting the bike lanes through Sundial Bridge and Butte and taking it to the downtown area. So it was brought up, and Melissa kind of said that yes, there is an ATB plan and we are already looking into it, and this plan is also including that and making sure that that connection is prominent. And I think, yeah, they just want to, everyone likes the idea of roundabouts, but everyone still wants to be careful of, making sure that it's designed well, and we do not end up into some design issues.
Yeah.
Think,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rita. I'm looking through these notes. These are great notes. It seems like it will be beneficial to post the notes on the webpage after the meeting. I think we might have to clean up spelling and stuff, but we'll make an effort to do that. Ruta, I just wanted to mention, I forgot to mention a comment that somebody made that I thought was important, which is that the roundabouts and any of the proposed improvements should accommodate ADA accessibility, and that even to go beyond normal ADA and enhanced accessibility would be a good goal for this project. And people with vision disability was actually mentioned as well. So I thought that was a good comment. Can we go on to group 3?
Yes. So it's
Ian?
Ian here with group 3. In the interest of time, just to highlight the ones I feel critical. So,
Ian?
Yes.
Ian, this is Shelby. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in just real quick. I should have mentioned this earlier, but it's kind of late development in our city process, but better late than never. I mentioned this to room 3 that I was in. I know we have these improvements that we've kind of have proposed for Park Marina Drive, but, we had also kind of talked about up in the air the possibility of having more bike and ped facility type things, maybe cut through the neighborhood itself, not to entice vehicular traffic, but just to make it more attractive for bicyclists and pedestrians. And then also, as well as the neighborhood, ACID canals right there, typically in the past, they have not been amenable to improvements, but I was able to speak with them in the last just a couple weeks here, and they said they would not be opposed to possibly having a path through there for at least a portion of it, or possibly all the way down to South Street. So I know we're kind of at the end of our workshop here, but I just wanted to throw that out there so people know. And then if you have comments about that or concerns or any thoughts, just feel free to email me or respond to one of us. So I'm sorry, Ian, I just wanted to.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
And Shelby, sorry, Ian, this is Bruce, but I'll just reiterate that even with a canal improvement, which would be parallel to Park Marina, but some distance away from it, we would still also be interested in the improvements on Park Marina Drive as well,
yes.
Right? So that would be part of, so this proceeds no matter what, this Park Marina Drive, but there's this other option potentially for some even better, and separate improvements. Great. Okay, thanks, Shelby. Ian.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, very quickly in our room. So most of the people do like the idea of roundabouts, and however, the speed has to be lower, and whatever street parking is available right now should be retained. And there's a question about yeah. There's a position for roundabouts. Roundabouts will be really dangerous for bicycles and pedestrians. The traffic calming measures are well needed and they look great. You know, there's a very creative idea of you know, that we should have really nice and modern exercise stations along the waterfront for leisure and recreational purposes. Can you scroll down? Right. There's a question raised about is this project planning for flood control? And simply, in short, an answer is no. We're only talking about transportation within the public right-of-way area. Further down, please.
Oh, you have a lot of notes. Wow.
Yes, I try to digest it. Okay, is this the time to bring up that the sidewalks should be really wide on the water side? And our answer is that we are taking all modes of transportation into consideration as we plan this out. So it is a good timing to mention that. What about a runabout at South and Park Marina in addition to other two mentioned? When a real property be lost by homeowners? The answer is no. Again, we're only working within the public right of way. Anything else?
Although, Ruta, can you expand on that a little bit? I mean, if it is a roundabout, is there any determination, or would that determination be made in our next steps?
Yeah, that determination would be made in the next steps.
Yeah. Okay.
And actually, since you gave me an opportunity to speak, they have, I did miss one main comment is also they wanted us to look into at the intersection of Athens and Park Marina Drive, especially people making that left turn. So if we could do something at that intersection through this project, that would be highly appreciated.
Okay.
I think that was brought up in our group too.
Athens and Park.
Athens has been used as a shortcut or alternative route.
Oh, okay.
So yes. And,
okay. Keep going.
And further down, canal. Yes, there are positive and negative feelings about you know, constructing the canal path for ped and bike,
okay.
That's pretty much it, I believe. Regarding the heavy flow of traffic, yes, there's a big concern regarding the Highway 44 Sundale Bridge, the backups of vehicles, and the team will definitely look into that. And that's pretty much it. That's just the abstract of many, I'll say.
Wow, those are intense notes. Okay, thank you for that. I guess we've run over 5 minutes. If you will all apologize that we're running a little bit over, but what I can do next is just go back to my show just go to the next steps slide and one other thing. So hopefully you all can see this, which says that there is an opportunity to take a survey online. So if you want to go to the website and I tell you what we could do, we could email out a email to all the participants that signed up for this workshop and put these links in the email so you could click on the link. And then it will take you to a map survey where you could put down your ideas or if there's any issues that you know about. And we would love to get even more information from you there. There's also a questionnaire that you could link onto. And everything will be on the web page. So, and that is a Public Works web page that's attached to the Public Works website. And again, this web page link will be one that we can provide to you. You can jot it down, or we could provide to you in a follow-up email that we can send to the participants of this meeting. And you would be welcome to send that along to any neighbors or friends that you think should have it. So with that, our next steps will be to incorporate input and develop and refine alternatives. And then we'll be coming back to you. We'll notify in a similar fashion for a second workshop to discuss alternatives at that time. And we hope everyone will be able to come back and see what we've done and provide additional input at that time. And this is the project webpage here. So with that, I think I am done. We are done. And thank you all very much for participating tonight. This was a very fruitful workshop. Really appreciate the input. And thanks to all the staff and folks that helped run it. It seems like it went pretty smoothly. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We'll sign off now.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.